The NFL offseason is often a roller coaster of emotions, deals, and dramatic headlines, and this year is no exception. A new report has emerged, claiming that Aaron Rodgers, the once unflappable superstar quarterback, pleaded with the New York Jets to keep him. According to sources, in his final conversations with the Jets' new regime, Rodgers aggressively urged the franchise to give him another year, or even two. In the end, however, he reportedly accepted the Jets' decision, like a man going to the gallows. While the accuracy of this report is hard to dispute, it paints a picture of a player behaving in a manner entirely out of character. The Aaron Rodgers we know is cool, detached, and never one to walk away with his tail tucked between his legs. So, what's really going on behind closed doors? A desperate plea or a misinterpreted conversation? For years, Aaron Rodgers has been the epitome of cool confidence on the field. With a storied career that spans 18 seasons, including an 18-season run with the Green Bay Packers that produced unforgettable moments and highlights, Rodgers has rarely shown any sign of desperation. The notion that he would plead with the Jets is, at first glance, startling, according to reports by Steve Helling and Ryan Dunleavy of the New York Post. Rodgers not only pleaded with the Jets to keep him, but he also made a last-ditch effort to secure another season, even going so far as to aggressively urge the organization for an additional year or two. Implicit in this narrative is that Rodgers had already decided he would play in 2025 for the Jets, provided that the franchise would give him a chance to continue his career. However, this raises critical questions. Does the superstar quarterback really fit the profile of someone who would resort to such a desperate measure? Is it possible that, after two dismal seasons following his illustrious tenure in Green Bay, Rodgers might be feeling the weight of a tarnished legacy? The pressure of declining seasons and lingering doubts. Rodgers' recent seasons have been a mix of nostalgia and frustration. After decades of excellence in Green Bay, the transition to the New York Jets was expected to bring a new chapter of success. Instead, the past two seasons have been marred by injuries, inconsistent play, and media scrutiny. For a quarterback whose reputation was built on clutch performances and cool-headed leadership, these seasons have been tough, both on the field and in the public eye. It's important to recognize that Rodgers isn't just negotiating a contract, he's negotiating his legacy. With the pressure to prove that he can still perform at an elite level, it's plausible that Rodgers might have felt compelled to plead for another opportunity. Yet, the very idea of pleading seems at odds with his usual demeanor. Instead of a quiet, measured discussion, this report suggests a dramatic, almost desperate entreaty, a side of Rodgers that few have ever witnessed. The Jets' decision, moving on despite the pleas. Ultimately, the New York Jets have decided to move on from Aaron Rodgers. The organization, now re-evaluating its quarterback situation in light of the past seasons, is exploring other options. For the Jets, the decision to let Rodgers go is not merely a reaction to a single season's struggles. It's a strategic move aimed at finding a more fitting leader for their future. The report leaves us with a lingering question. Will someone else want Rodgers? And equally important, will Rodgers want to join any team that comes calling? With two less than stellar seasons added to an otherwise legendary career, Rodgers may be at a crossroads. On one hand, he might prefer to continue playing to prove that 2025 can be better than 2023 and 2024. On the other hand, he might seek a more favorable situation, a team where the path to success is clearer. The culture is supportive, and the challenge is both stimulating and rewarding. The Steelers' option, a possibility, but not without complications. One team that continues to be mentioned in quarterback discussions is the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers' situation has been a topic of intense speculation, as they weigh options like Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, and even free agent Aaron Rodgers, who isn't returning to the New York Jets. In theory, the Steelers have a legitimate interest in Rodgers, given his vast experience and past successes. However, acquiring him would be no simple task. The financial implications, the challenge of fitting him into a modern offense, and the inherent risks of taking on an aging veteran with recent performance issues all complicate the picture. Should the Steelers decide to pursue Rodgers, they would need to consider not only his on-field capabilities but also the overall impact on team chemistry and the long-term vision of the organization. For Rodgers, the prospect of joining a team with a tougher path to contention might be unappealing. Or he might be willing to wait until a high-end Super Bowl contender suffers a season-ending injury before making a move. But such a strategy, while theoretically sound, is fraught with uncertainties. A career's end like a whimper. There's a poignant, almost melancholic quality to the narrative emerging around Rodgers. Some commentators have drawn parallels to how Bill Belichick's coaching career eventually wound down, a gradual, quiet fade-out marked by a lack of compelling interest from the outside world. The report suggests that Rodgers' NFL playing career might conclude in a similar manner, without a grand finale, but rather with a whimper, as teams shy away from the distractions and uncertainties that now seem to outweigh his remaining skills. It's a sobering thought. Rodgers was once the gold standard for quarterback play, a beacon of excellence and a leader who could galvanize his team with seemingly effortless cool. Now, with his recent struggles and the inevitable march of time, the question looms large. Are the cons of continuing to play now outweighing any lingering pros? The dichotomy of desire, play for passion or play for legacy? At the heart of this saga is a fundamental dilemma. Does Aaron Rodgers want to play merely for the sake of playing? Or does he want to ensure that every season is a definitive statement of his greatness? After all, Rodgers isn't the type of player who simply takes the field without purpose. With his storied career behind him, every game now carries additional weight. He might very well be at a point where he refuses to settle for mediocrity, choosing instead to only continue if the conditions guarantee a return to form, a season where he can outshine his past glories. The idea that Rodgers pleaded with the Jets suggests that he might have been desperate for a lifeline, a chance to rewrite his recent narrative. But if this desperate plea is genuine, it stands in stark contrast to the image of Rodgers as the unflappable, cool-headed leader we've all known. It's almost as if, in those final conversations, he was fighting against the inevitable, urging the franchise to give him one more chance to prove that his skills still justify his legendary status. The future, a crossroads of opportunity and uncertainty. Now, the big question remains. What's next for Aaron Rodgers? The report leaves us with more questions than answers. Will another team, perhaps one with a more forgiving system or a clearer path to contention, see value in Rodgers and offer him a chance to revive his career? Or will he choose to wait, perhaps even consider retirement, if the conditions aren't right for him to play at his peak level? For the Jets, moving on from Rodgers is a necessary step toward rebuilding their quarterback situation. They must weigh the cost of keeping a veteran whose recent seasons have been marred by inconsistency against the potential benefits of finding a new leader. And for Rodgers himself, the decision is equally monumental. It's not just about finding a new team, it's about preserving his legacy, his dignity, and perhaps most importantly, ensuring that if he does continue to play, it's in an environment where he can excel. A candid look at the negotiations. In the final hours of negotiations with the Jets' new regime, reports suggest that Rodgers was anything but passive. He allegedly pleaded with the team, trying to secure another year, or even two, of his career with the organization. One can only imagine the intensity of those conversations, the mix of determination, frustration, and perhaps a touch of desperation that might have surfaced. Yet, if you know Rodgers, you know he's not typically the pleading type. This reported pivot to a more desperate tone is hard to reconcile with the cool, measured demeanor he's cultivated over decades. Could it be that the pressure of 2 disappointing seasons, following a legendary career in Green Bay, pushed him to this point? Or is it simply a case of misinterpreting a passionate negotiation as desperation? While we have no way of knowing for certain, the narrative that has emerged leaves many to wonder if this might be a turning point in his career. A moment when the mighty began to realize that the road ahead might not be as accommodating as it once was. The Steelers and other potential destinations. Among the potential landing spots, the Pittsburgh Steelers have repeatedly been mentioned as a logical choice. The Steelers, facing their own quarterback conundrums, might see Rodgers as a seasoned veteran who can provide leadership and stability. But the reality is far more complex. For Rodgers, joining a team with a tougher path to contention might not be appealing. Alternatively, he could wait for a team that is already a high-end Super Bowl contender to suffer an injury, if such a scenario were even to occur. The prospect of moving on to a new team carries with it both the allure of a fresh start and the risk of being a short-term stopgap solution. A reflection on the Aaron Rodgers legacy. It's hard not to reflect on what Aaron Rodgers represents in the world of football. Once heralded as the quintessential modern quarterback, his career has been a roller coaster of high achievements and equally high expectations. The idea that he would end his career by pleading for another opportunity is both poignant and, to some, deeply ironic. For fans who have witnessed his brilliance over the years, the thought of Rodgers' NFL journey concluding with a desperate bid for one more season is a bitter pill to swallow. Yet, perhaps there is still hope. Perhaps Rodgers will find a team that believes in his ability to rebound, that can offer him the platform to not only continue playing but to do so on his own terms. A team that values his experience and is willing to invest in his legacy, even if that means accepting a less glamorous, more challenging role. The final chapter or a new beginning? In the end, the report that Aaron Rodgers pleaded with the Jets to keep him is a stark reminder of the harsh realities of professional sports. Even the greatest can face moments of vulnerability. Whether this moment marks the final chapter of his illustrious career or serves as a prelude to a surprising new beginning remains to be seen. The NFL is a league of constant reinvention. And for Rodgers, the decision he makes in the coming weeks will undoubtedly shape his legacy and determine whether his final seasons are remembered as a graceful exit or a reluctant farewell. So, what's next for Aaron Rodgers? Will another team come calling with an offer that respects his past achievements and offers a realistic path to success in 2025? Or will he, like many greats before him, quietly fade away, his final act marked not by triumphant glory but by a subdued acceptance of change? Engaging with you. Share your thoughts. We want to hear from you. Do you believe Aaron Rodgers truly pleaded with the Jets? Or is this just sensationalism at work? What do you think is the best path forward for Rodgers? Should he continue playing in the NFL? Or is it time to consider retirement? And if he does look for a new team, which franchise do you think is best positioned to help him revive his career? Drop your thoughts, predictions, and even your funniest memes in the comments below. Your insights are what fuel this conversation and keep the debate alive. Final thoughts. In a league where every decision is magnified and every season counts, the story of Aaron Rodgers' final conversations with the Jets is a microcosm of the relentless pressure facing even the most accomplished athletes. The report may paint a picture of desperation, but it also underscores the immense stakes at play, stakes that are not just about winning games, but about preserving a legacy built over decades. Whether Rodgers finds a new home that cherishes his talents or opts to retire quietly, his future remains one of the most compelling stories in the NFL today. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the dramatic report surrounding Aaron Rodgers and the Jets, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more exclusive NFL updates and analysis, and ring the notification bell so you never miss a moment of the action. Thank you for tuning in. And here's to hoping that the next chapter in Rodgers' storied career is as impactful and inspiring as his past. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video as we continue to break down the biggest stories in football. Go NFL!